Hello everyone, Country Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers, continuing on with the Survival Series 2. We are also still working on this behemoth monster, which we're calling a space station, which is really a lag monster. So one of the things I need to do ultimately is attach the landing pads, which there's two of them. This one over here we need to rename. We have not gone through and renamed everything. It's not just a matter of renaming. I also have to set up a couple of the groups again. So once I rename the groups, they fall out of, because they're groups, the groups do not automatically go through and rename, repopulate into timers and such like that. So this one I have to change some timers. So this one over here is pretty straightforward. Don't think I'm going to have too much trouble. As you saw on yesterday's or rather previous video, it's kind of random. For example, let's go ahead and do a quick save here. We do a Control X to delete. We do a Control V to paste it back in the world, and it pasted the same direction. Oh my goodness. So that might be a good sign. Okay, and commit. Wow. Wow. That actually worked. Okay, unfortunately, because I shifted from side to side, that did change the fact that I had to pull the medical bay that used to be here off, which is unfortunate. Alright, so the one over here, we have to change the names on everything, and then we have to repopulate the groups. So that does take a little bit of energy here to do this. So let's go ahead and go in, commit. We'll do a Control A. I think I did this already. Land pad A. This is actually land pad B. We'll go ahead and change all of this to B. The lights are not changing names, mostly because there's no reason to. So the lights are all in the groups. So what we're gonna go ahead and do, the groups ultimately have to be name changed. So this is new name, delete. How am I changing the name? So you can't really change the name of a group. You basically change the name, save, and it creates a new group. The old group is still there. So what we do here is bring up the group itself. I'm going to backspace and do a save. You see, poof, it creates another group, but the original one is still here. So we actually delete the old group. Now the problem of deleting the old group is any references where that group was used is now hosed. So warning yellow, delete, and finally warning, which warning and illumination are the two that are actually used in timer. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but still there. All right, so warning, now the warning can go away. Delete. Timers is still there, so timers is all here. Let's go down to the very bottom. Battery, this now becomes B and B. And then the LCD panel in this case is B. The sliding door, actually, because the other side of the door would be on the tunnel. And B. Now, the timer block is really where we have the problem, and let me show you what that is. So set up actions on the timer. You notice these things go to things that don't actually exist anymore. So landing pad A, illumination, and warning illumination. Now, unfortunately, even though it still identifies what these groups happen to be, it didn't say what the action was. So in this case, I was just using the timer to execute a list. Okay, the list was pretty simple. We turn one on, we turn the other off. When you press the timer again, it triggers again, and it turns the one on and the other one off. So it really is a toggle in the truest sense. So groups, in this case, so again, we understand here warning and illumination. So I'm looking for warning and illumination. So my red lights and my yellow lights specifically as groups really don't matter, even though I created groups to do that. So what I actually did was took the two groups, put them together in one group, but there's a 50% offset on one versus the other. So it's really all within one group. I could delete those other groups and it wouldn't matter at all, but we'll go ahead and leave them in there. So warning, we're looking for warning. Warning, warning. So there's warning red, warning yellow, and there is indeed warning. This time group B, warning. So we're going to drag this into the slot 1 because that's where the original was, and like I said, we're toggling on and off. So if it's on, it turns it off. If it's off, it turns it on. Toggle, right? This one is illumination, which is the second slot here, so we'll drag illumination group down to the second slot. This one also is a toggle off and on. Now what you notice here is that the warning lights are off, the illumination lights are on. Okay, so when we go through here, and we'll go ahead and demonstrate this, when we go through this, so let's get off of here. We know permission is not an issue. We'll go over here and we'll click this button. It toggles, so you see the illumination lights went out, the warning lights came on, which was entirely the point. We'll go back into our timer, so that's okay. We'll drag all the way down to the very bottom where our timer block is. We'll go back into setup, and what you notice here is now number 1 is on, number 2 is off. So it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It toggled. And in this case, I'm using a group, so everything in those groups toggled. In the case of the warning lights, again, it was the matter of the lights themselves have settings, and when you do a 50% offset on settings, then you can create this flash effect to make everything work. Alright, so in this case we have successfully created everything here. Transferred to me, which is okay. Landing pad, we're going to change that after the fact, and we'll do that in a moment. So now that we have successfully renamed, as well as, let me turn these warning lights off, probably a good idea. Get back to normal illumination here. Oh, and I did not change this. Let's change this. Edit text. So make sure your text is on. I've already set up, so here's some of the settings. Our font size, which you're going to have to check your flavor. We've set it to center, but ultimately the edit text here is what we want to see. So in this case, it's landing pad B. B is in Bravo. Alright, so that has apparently been successfully changed. We're going to back off just a little bit here. We're going to do another save game so we don't completely hose this up. Then we're going to do a Control X, which will delete as well as copy onto the clipboard. We do a Control V to copy it back in the world, and of course it rotates around. But hey, maybe it will work out pretty well here. And it looks like it is. So we are pasted in, aligned where it should be, and we are left click and commit. And it looks like it goes there. Alright, now here's the truest test of the groups. We're going to go in here and press the toggle. If I did the groups right, then this one is going to start flashing the warning lights, which it is, and none of the other landing pads should have changed. That one's okay. Let's see what this one looks like. Alright, so apparently I have done everything correctly, which is probably rather amazing in and of itself. So, all 4 of the landing pads are operating independently of one another, which is entirely what we wanted. Okay, so the good news is, let's go ahead and do another quick save. Alright, so if I'm looking at my list here, let me pull my list out from under my coffee. Speaking of coffee, excuse me. So we still need sorting methodology. So we're not done with all that. And we need a hanger bay, and then so sorting methodology, assemblers. So assemblers is still something. I would really like to do a hanger bay. So I'm not sure where the hanger bay should be, but I would really like to do an official hanger bay. May not be practical in this particular build, but we're still going to play around with it. I might bring in the ugly duckling fighter, which we built in another video, another series of videos. So the 2, or rather 3 things: the assemblers, the sorting, and the hydrogen oxygen generation. So we have literally only 2 generators right now supplying this entire station, which is a little bit silly given the size of the station. We do thankfully have oxygen tanks everywhere. They are all filling and filled, which is great news. So we know everything worked as it was supposed to, which means now we have oxygen within ready supply, within a very short distance of the air vents, which is a great thing. So all of our different distributed oxygen tanks they look to be full. Alright, so roaming back up here, one of the things that we did not do was have an insertion point effectively for our materials. So Issy looks to be still working. Yep. If you see changing on these screens, you know. So we can see the little spinny thing. It looks like it's still going. All right. So we don't have any ore, so the refineries are not really doing anything. But really, the refining is the process where we're taking raw materials and turning them into usable materials, right? So once they're processed, there's absolutely nothing left in the pull-in side that we can't shunt somewhere else. So the trick is, how do we pull this out and get it to where it needs to go? Now, all of the storage, the main storage, is actually attached into this green. So ultimately, we need to link into the green to get everything anywhere. Now, where can we easily do that? And that's where the challenge really comes in. So if I look down here, I have elevator. If I look way down there, I end up with, there's a green block. Okay, so there's a possible entry. And then let's look at this side and see what we have over here. Do we have another green block there? Yes, we do. So I really only need one green section, and in fact, here's another green line that I could potentially tap into right here. So that one actually looks like it might be a little easier. There's another green block right there. So in fact, because I tapped off of the red on this side, we could actually be somewhat symmetrical and pull off the green on this side. In fact, if I can stay on the same plane, actually can't. Well, I could. So let's attempt to do that just by virtue of, I've got Issy down here, so that'll still leave access to Issy. So one of the first things we have to do, I'm just going to pick a random block to use it. Oh, that hideous color. So we'll chop that out. We'll point down at this particular block, and then we're going to turn that off and have a look in to make sure this is in fact a green block, which it is. All right. So once again, we commit to destroying that block. This block looks like it was an elbow, so I need to change this into a T. So it's a Control Shift 4, which will get me, or sorry, Control 4, which gets me over to my toolbar 4. In this case, it's a 6, which is the conveyor here. I need to change colors back over to green, my famous supply green, and then flip this T in the direction it needs to go. So this is just verifying. Some of these are hard to see because they're partially transparent. In this case, I can change to a number 4, which is just a straight through connector. And then I want to bring this particular connector out. So in this case, it's a number 5, which is my elbow, and I just have to get all of my alignment here. So the elbow in this case is my feed coming into the supply system. So we're going to go back over to 8. I think I still have a sorter. Yes, I do. So this is the conveyor sorter. Remember, the sorter looks like it's upside down, but it's actually right side up. I want to put, it's a little bit hard to see, but there are 2 control panels, one on each side, and I want to leave those exactly where they are. The thing about the sorters, you always have to remember, sorters are one way. Sorters are one way. So look at the big arrow, the great big gigantic white arrow, and that will point you in the direction. So we're pulling out of the supply tanks here and pulling into the supply system. Sorry, we're pulling out of the pull-in system and pulling into the supply system. So this is a left click to actually paste this guy in the world, and now we need to attach on in some way. So I'm going to go back to a Shift 4. We're going to repaste a T. And one of the things that I need to do here, we're going to go ahead and K, get into the control panel here. So this is main supply sort. All right. Ultimately, we're going to be drain on, but we're not going to do that yet, although we can because it's not connected to anything. So let's go ahead and do that. In this case, we want to whitelist. So we want to select specific things that come across. In this case, it's ammo, components, ingots, hand tools, ingots, and remember, ice is ore. So it will pull in with ore, but I want to specifically pull, oops, skipped it, specifically pull ice across. Okay, ice, ice, ice. All right, we're going to go full commit here, unhide everything, transfer to me, yes. All right, now, we pointed out the landing pad LCDs, which I'm using as signs. So let's go ahead, while we're in the control panel, find those 2 LEDs, and they are somewhere down here. We're going to put them into this group, this signs LCD group, because they do exist. They are legitimate. I don't want to delete those. And here they are right here, so I'm going to commit those. We're going to pull them off the toolbar, but ultimately it's a control left click on the group name, then we do a save, which will actually add those 2 items into the group. We've already turned them off on the toolbar, and we're going to turn them off in the terminal because we don't have any need for them in the terminal. Now, I don't know what this particular LCD panel 1 is. It's probably a panel out there on the end of one of the tunnels. Not really a big deal. Alright, so our insertion point in here is what makes this kind of interesting. How are we going to insert? Now, okay, here's the truth about sorters. On the pull-in side of a sorter, it can pull in from anywhere. As long as it's attached onto a conveyor system, it's going to pull it in. Okay. On the push-out side, we are limited to it will not push cargo through. Now, I could be dated, so let me caveat that. At one time when I did the testing, a sorter hooked onto a cargo container. If the cargo container filled up, the sorter could not push cargo through into other connected containers. It would stop when the container got full. So that's why we created this manifold on the other side. So even though we've kind of integrated this into a lot of other things, here's my sorter back here, so you can see the other green arrow, which connects onto this great big huge manifold, this header, and that header is ultimately interconnected in with all 8 cargo containers, which means through a conveyor system, it is directly connected to 8 different cargo containers, which means it never has to push through a cargo container to get to the next container. It just goes through the conveyor system. So with that having been said, that may have changed. They may have fixed that. So I have not tested recently. So using this same idea, we're going to actually put a T in here. So this is a number 8. I'm going to change colors. So this is part of the original pull-in system, which is red. So by convention, we're going to keep that as a red. Okay, so let me put this in here. We're going to flip this around so it's connected on the correct way. All right, so red. But it's now the green system. Now the green. So we are going to pull into the supply system. So I'm going to change colors. I'm also going to change the conveyor types as I have done elsewhere. So let us change to green, which is our supply system. And we will add on our... Oh, that one did not paste. And then we go elbow. It should turn green. Yes, it did. And we do the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and then back off a little bit so we can put the elbow in. And that should go green. Yes, it did. Alright, so what have we accomplished here? We have accomplished the pull-in system, which we did in another video. We connected in our refineries, which we also did in another video, but we pull in all the gibberish from wherever it came from. We take everything out that is already processed. So that's what this sorter is that we just created here. And it can pull also using, in fact, this same header, the same distribution system, and pull in all of the already finished products. Okay, so it just pulls them straight across. Once we have done that, now the other caveat there is it will not pull through ore, but it will pull through ice specifically. So ice will come through. Ore is going to be processed by this array of refineries that we have here. It will work over time, but because the pull-in, the main supply pull-in sorter will pull in ingots, then it will pull in ingots from this system attached. So the idea here is the pull-in system will pull in and dump materials into these big red containers. There's 8 of them, which gives me about 9 million, 10 million liters of storage. The refineries will chew through whatever ore they can as fast as they can. Most of this is going to be managed by Issy, of course, or Tim, depending on how you have it set up. And then ultimately the sorter will pull in and push everything into connected containers. In our case, let me face the right way, this guy up here. So this is my main storage here. It's called Storage 1. And it truly is a storage container. Okay, sorry. I was like, I put that on upside down, but no, actually I'm upside down. Relative to the station, I'm upside down. So I was wondering what happened there. So this is truly storage. It is not only cargo storage, but we have a bazillion batteries here, very close to a bazillion. You see 2 rows of batteries here on the side. And so we are electrical storage as well as cargo storage. So the idea here is, now that we have this sorting system, or rather the sorting system up here, it will now have some place it can push. So we have now created the pull-in system, which is entirely complete. We have now created that crossover. How do we get stuff from the pull-in system back into the regular system? Now, the only thing that we could actually put in here, and this is going to be a deficiency for right now, is the main cargo system, the green supply cargo system, is unfettered. It goes in and out of these particular containers without any issue, connected onto the green conveyor system. Now, here's the problem. There are no refineries on the green conveyor system. So, normally what I would do is actually have a, and we could do this if we wanted to. We could actually create a piece here that would pull. So this is connected in. Nope, we'd have to do it actually over here and connect in. So the idea is we would have a green connected element that would ultimately pull out of the green system, put it back into the pull-in system that would then let us interconnect the refineries. So that is something, and I'll go ahead and write that down. So what I've called this is ore handling on supply. So right now we do not have a mechanism to take ore from the green system, the main supply system, and shunt it back to the refineries, which is really on the pull-in side.
No energy.
So one of the challenges that we have to be very careful is you never want to create a situation where your sorters will loop. Okay, so we always want to make sure very definitively we can only pull through in a particular way. Okay, in this case, let us go ahead, because those are attached there. Let's go ahead and go to number 4. In this case, we came up, we're an elbow, so we're actually going to put a corner in, which is number 8. Okay. So it's all still green. We're going to delete this particular thing, but what I need to do is make sure, and I think it is already rotated in. So we just have to understand where this particular corner actually is. So we are coming up from the bottom, going out the side, and out the other side closest to me. So we're going into the sorter in this case, or rather the sorter into it, and then we're coming out this direction. On toolbar number 8, we have sorters once again. So I need to spin this sorter around this other way. It is indeed right side up, even though I'm upside down. And then we want to slide over here and configure. So this sorter, remember, is our ore pull-in sorter. So this is basically our ore feedback sorter. Ore from supply, or maybe we'll say main supply. So this does not have to be a drain all, because ultimately the let me go ahead and do this. So unhide everything, Control A, over to me, because I don't think I did that on the other sorter either. Okay, so once it's me, I'm all good. Okay, so we're sorter or from main supply. We can do a drain all. Ultimately, we're going to connect into the same place. We're going to, actually, let's turn that off for a moment. We're going to whitelist, and we're going to pull through ore. Now, here's the caveat to the ore. We really want to blacklist ice, but let everything else through. And I know that's going to sound really silly, but ice is ore. Okay, so the first thing we want to do here is blacklist ice. Okay, what am I going to do here? I am already, I think, on green, so let's do we're going to go in right here. This is a 6, oops, sorry, 6, and then I just have to spin it around the correct way. All right, I think that's it. Yep. All right. We are going to do a number 5 here, which is going to look a little bit strange. And believe it or not, oh, laggy. We go back to number 8. We're going to put in a second sorter here. We're going to spin it around the correct way. We're going to try and spin it around the correct way. And there it is. All right, so what have we done here? We want all types of ore except ice to pull through. So this is, I apologize, I named it wrong because I wasn't thinking. Not enough coffee yet. This is actually ice blocker, but we're gonna Control X that. The ice blocker does not have to be drain all. We are blacklisting ice, prevent ice, okay? Everything else will come through. We're going to do the same thing because we just pasted in another sorter. So, over to me, yes, turn this off. Run right down to the bottom here. This new sorter, so here's our sorters. The other one is called conveyor sorter, and we'll actually go on to that one next. So we're going to access that from this side. I could have turned it up sideways if I really wanted. So here's this one. Do a K to get into that one. It's called sorter 4 right now. So we're going to call this sorter, and we put a tack in here. We're going to Control V because I copied it from the other one. Haha. And this one is a drain all in this case, but we're going to go ahead and set it up. This is a whitelist.
No energy.
Slide right up to the top. Ore, okay, and add. So whitelist ore. Everything else is blocked. Only allow ore through. And we're going to do drain all. Okay, so with the ice blocker, we will not allow ice backwards through, but all the other ores will come through. So blacklist ice, everything else is okay. Blacklist ice, everything else is okay. Whitelist ore, only allow ore. So we've blocked ice, but allow everything else, and we allow ore, but block everything else. Okay, so we're using those two functions. Unfortunately, because we can't whitelist and blacklist in the same machine, we have to use two different sorters. So that's actually what we have done. So this looks really crazy. We have one connection point into our supply system with a push in and a pull out at the same time. So what does this do? This pulls everything in, including ice, dumps it into all connected storage available for our main supply system. But we also have created a methodology by which we can dump into main supply, and then all the ore that needs to be processed will be pulled back over so our refineries can process it. So we've really created a two-way path using sorters. So it's a very controlled methodology. We're only allowing certain things through, but obviously once our ore is processed, it becomes ingots and other things, and then it can be pulled in by this sorter over here. So this just basically creates this two-way path so we can always process ore no matter how it gets onto the system. All right, so we've solved that problem. So there's I can mark that one off the list. I have to watch time because I have to go to work at some point. All right. So the next thing we need to accomplish is creating this hydrogen and oxygen generation, so my gas generation, and we need to create the assembler system. Now, what I was thinking, and I copied one of these somewhere into the world. There it is. We have this thing. Now, what I tend to like to do is, let me go off screen for half a second and I'll show you why I'm doing that. I'm going to delete those two guys. So I have my blueprints. I store external of my blueprint folder, so I keep them fairly well sorted, and I have a pretty large parts and pieces thing. So refining, assembling. So I have an assembly here, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it in. It's kind of what I had in mind for this. So let me go ahead and do that. And I know that's a little bit of a cheaty. So paste this in the world. And here's what this looks like. I'm going to go over here, and we're actually going to align this. So it sits somewhere, and we're, I think, going to build this around a module. Now, what is this? So this is ESO modules, of course, because we're already using them, so I want to continue using them. Now, if you count across here, you're going to discover, hey, there's 10. If we think about an assembler for a moment, an assembler is a 2 by 1 by 1, which means there's actually 5 of these guys in a row. Why are they in a row? Well, cooperative will only work when they are connected end to end. So here's what they look like on the end. We actually have 2 groups of 5 which are together. Then we have the ESO modules going out in every direction from them. Not a whole lot I could do there. Not a whole lot of variant. This one happens to be connected on this end. The first thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and tab back over here. We're going to grab any block will do. Change over to Tiger Orange. We're going to Control Shift Center mouse button, which is going to change this assembly over to my normal Tiger Orange. Now, what is the function here is, of course, assembly. We want to have assemblers available so basically we can do what we need to do. My idea originally was we would have a rather large box like this one, and I think that's still a valid valid concern. Um, so how I do that, I really do not know. What I'm actually kind of thinking is the door would be here, and then we would have to figure out how do I move those three different conveyor systems through. And what I think I would do is actually move them out to the side, and then off it goes. So red is in this case to the right. So I'm coming home to port. For those of you who missed the nautical reference, international maritime law says a buoy on a return when set up in the international style, red to the right on return, which means if I am a ship coming into home port and I'm returning to port, then the red buoy will be on my right. For those of you who are nautically challenged, that would be to my starboard. So that would mean the green buoy would be to my left or to the port. So, blah, 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 naval trivia for you. All right, we're going to go back over to our number 4 toolbox. We're going to change over to initially red. Remember that these are coming in side by side, so understanding where this is. So we're going to send this one this way. We're going to send green down the middle, but we're also going to pull it off. So this is actually going to be a 6 with the with this one coming up. Oh, actually we are going to have to do an edge. Nope, I'm wrong. It can be a T like this because I don't need to interconnect. But I do need to interconnect up to right there. Alright, so that one goes through. This one on this side is we're back to a number 5, which is an elbow, and come out this side. So this one happens to go this way, and then in fact goes forward this way. So I forgot to do that on the other side, which we'll remedy right now. Press OK. Press OK. Press the OK button. There we go. Now, what I was thinking is that I would actually have this particular system also do the gaseous generation. Now, normally I would do something separate, but this isn't going to be a really huge module, as you can see, comparing to this one. So is there any reason to not do the same thing in this module? I don't know that there would be. So we might as well do it all here. Alright. What I'm going to do here is actually paste in. We have an end and no slope, so this is the one we want to use. We're going to go ahead and paste that into the world. I'm going to have to flip that around the correct direction. I'm going to paste this in the world. I don't know exactly where it's going to end up yet, so I want to view it and see what it is. Because this door may actually be going the wrong way. So the door is facing this way, which may or may not be what we want. Because in this case, everything is on that side. So what I think I'm going to do in this case is take the door out. The door is black, so we're going to recolor as black. Okay. 8 is our door. We're going to delete this door. We're going to create a new door. Hello, where's my door? Okay, there's our windows, and that is actually the side I want it to be on. So I want it to face, in this case, the room side.
Low energy.
So this is, in this case, we're going to go ahead and pull this in. There's only these 3 things. So what I want to do is make sure I own everything, which I now do. This is sliding door assembly and gas. pretty straightforward, right? Battery. We'll call this assembly gas A, and we're going to highlight this just because. C, and we'll call this assembly gas B. And of course, I copied way too much in. Okay, so assembly and gas. This is sliding door. We're going to go ahead and call this, I guess, the A side. I don't know if that's true. Let's go ahead and look at this. Oh, actually, ATAC 1, ATAC 2, ATAC 2. The reason why is this is the entire A side, and A and B would be arbitrary at this point. So effectively, and here's what I want to do. Control V, and why did I Control V, and how did that just mystically, magically appear out of nowhere? Is because I already had it in the clipboard. So the one that I pasted in the world that I just changed is actually the way it was. But here's why I did that, because this door is already facing the right way. Okay. So this whole assembly here, we're going to go ahead and Control A this and change it to me. Okay, and this now becomes, in this case, assembly gas B1. B2, and in this case, this is, oh, I really messed up this name. So this is door, oh darn, assembly gas B lock inner. Okay, which I do need to change, or sorry, B lock outer. Technically, it's my convention was to name the so every airlock has an inner door and an outer door. The problem with inner and outer is it's relative to something. So is it relative to the space, or is it relative to the tunnel? And this is where I got a little bit screwy and a little bit inconsistent. So let's go ahead and change the name of this door. Oh, laggy. So this is a and because I haven't had enough coffee, I cannot remember for the life of me what I named this. And so I'm going to totally cheat, and it's called this. So we're going to do a Control A and a Control C to copy. Oh, bounce off the side. Boink. So here's this, Control A, Control V, and this is actually A. Okay, still a me, but all right. So here's what we're doing here. Oh, this is going to be a problem. So here's the challenge. We have the 3 conveyor systems, then we have a door. We have 3 conveyor systems, and then we have a conveyor system. So I have to figure out how to get this conveyor system, and the only way to do that only way to do that is, here's how I gotta do that. So we go back into number 4. We do a number 4, which is a straight through. We have, let's go red. Green. Blue. And in here, I like batteries. So, Control A, Control C. This is on the A side, so we're going to actually put 2 more batteries in here, and I have to find a battery. Of course, why would I have a regular battery? Here's a regular battery. I do not want to put Kenti batteries in because Kenti batteries are a bit overpowered. Oh, darn. There we go. In this case, I want them to face this way, but they are not going to be that color. They're actually going to be black. So, we're going to paste one there, and we're going to paste one there. And then we are going to go through and name these batteries appropriately. Let me go ahead and do a Control A. Rename everything to me. We're going to go ahead and delete. Oh, darn. Group, delete. Alright, so my assemblers and ESO cubes in this case are all part of the assembly system, but I don't want the batteries in here. So this is called production assembly, or we could do assemblers. How about? So save, toolbar off, and terminal off. Okay, battery, you remember, so we're going to do a Control A and a Control V, and this is arbitrary, but it's going to be a 3 and a 4. Oh, darn. V, and this will now be a 4. Alright, one of the other things that we're going to have to do here, let me go ahead and put in, this is a T, because we're ultimately going both directions here, so that's going to be a 6. This actually is going to be Tiger Orange. Okay, so that's facing the correct direction. We're going to break that there. We're going to put that, paste that there. And then what I'm going to do here, G, we're going to actually use these glass thingies here. I don't think I'm going to use that. So 3. Should be this, but I'm actually going to change this to black because... Alright. So, here's what we have done. It's kind of an interesting methodology here, but we have created a ramp up to go in here. Okay, so it's a little bit strange, but we got to work with it. So, I'm going to go upside down. We're going to attempt to paste this thing on to... Alright, I'm going to... This may be tricky. And to make make this a little less tricky, we're going to go ahead and delete that, because that is a block. So what I don't want is to have that block do things. So this is a Control X, which will delete. Hello, delete. Control V, which will paste this back in the world, and here's what we're gonna attempt to do. So it's a green, paste commit. Nope, looks like it took it. So here's what we have. We have our 3 conveyor systems going through. Ultimately our green, which is our main supply, is connecting in. So hopefully that is, hopefully that's okay. Alright, I don't know what I'm going to do with the connection thing. Are we going to make it really truly into an industrial kind of a thing, which we might? Or are we going to do something else? The first thing we need to do is, now that we have these things, we're going to extend them across. Whoops. Let me get into this, and then number 4. Let's start out with our blue. And then get onto this. So our blue, and then we're just going to copy this the length. And that's good. This one is green. We're going to come its length as well. Coming across. We're just going to take this to the end because we're going to do some other stuff with it. Then we change to red and finally continue our pull in across. There we go. Okay, now one of the things we want to do, which is the exact same thing we did on this other side, is we put a T here. So we go back into number 4 and a number 6. We change to Tiger Orange again. Then we change back to green. We actually turn this thing sideways and upside down and paste it right there. So now we continue straight through as well as connect up into here. So let me turn sideways so you can see that. Alright, so in, out, and up, which connects onto here. Then back to Tiger Orange. I should have done this before. Over to number 3, and we're actually going to do elbows in this case, which will connect on this end of the assemblers. So now we have our redundant connections in on each end of our assemblers. So the trick here really is, what are we doing for the gas side? So the gas generation is really going to be in this direction. And do we want to continue out using, how do we want to do this? Is really the question mark here. Now, what I would kind of like to do, if it were me, is I'm going to put in, oops, let me go back over to number 4 and 7s, and then rotate this guy, and let me go ahead and create, so this is green. Now, I tend to do 5 at a time. Now, okay, I'm going to do something different here, and follow me through here. So this is a 5-way. So I'm going to turn the 5-way over. I'm going to delete that block, the T that's connected on here. So bear with me. And here's why I want to do this. I'm going to put 2 elbows here. So the elbows are ultimately facing forward. And I want to put my gaseous generators out here. So, So this is a walkway. Second change of plans. So I don't need this, and I don't need this. This can become a T again. So again, sorry I'm being indecisive. I'm really just trying to figure out. So this is a T, trying to figure out how I want to do this. Do I do green or do I do tiger orange? Or do I do my normal convention and ultimately my normal convention is that the blue, the fuel eye system, normally does not directly interconnect with the main supply. So there's actually two different sorters that work with my fuel eye system. Both sorters are a non-drain all, so drain all is off. One sorter allows bottles, so it is whitelist hydrogen bottles, whitelist oxygen bottles, whitelist uranium ore, whitelist ice, non-drain all. And then there's another sorter going, so that's the interconnector from the supply over to the fuel eye system, and of course it dumps right into containers that are dedicated. The other side of that is I need a way, obviously all of my oxygen generators, my gaseous generators are over there, so how do I get bottles to my oxygen and back? So I have another sorter that's the other direction that only allows bottles. Now, one of the other things that is a used to be that I have not checked is it used to be that gas would go through a sorter in either direction, so oxygen and hydrogen. They changed that at some point, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, where a sorter actually would block gases going backwards, so it would not allow gases to go backwards. So the other advantage to having a sorter in the forward-facing direction is, so now it's bottles, but it's still forward-facing, which means it would supply backwards with gas into the main supply system. So we have this two-way sorting system, just like we did on the supply system up here, just like that one, except it's for bottles and uranium ice. So having said that, I really want to do that with that way my sorting system is consistent even in this particular station. So we're going to do 0, we're going to do F5, Shift F5, which is a quick save. And I think this is a great place to stop because I'm 3 minutes over. I'm over. Surprise, surprise. So this is Kenty Tiger signing off, going to work. Oh my god. Have to go to work. Have to pay the bills. Thank you for watching. We will catch you next time.